Hello, Victorians. Did I hear someone say Great Game? Great Game actually refers to a particular geopolitical phenomenon, a competition actually between Russia and Great Britain in 19th century around Central Asia region, which is Victoria 3, this part. Russia was pushing from north to south. They were trying to control Persia and eventually gained access to the Arabian Sea, as well as this access between Mediterranean Sea, Turkey to India. Britain, of course, already having British East India Company, were trying to push northbound, trying to gain access through Central Asia I think for the same purposes, to connect Europe and India and to less extent China. So these two countries had a lot of competition, a lot of geopolitical uh, competition in Central Asia region and later Persia. In this case, Persia is a separate strategic region, but in Central Asia, um, and they did so until the First World War. The early 20th century when the gravity of geopolitics moved back to Europe with the rise of Germany and the rising nationalism. That eventually made the whole Europe end the war to First World War. Um, Russia and Britain managed never to go to an actual war over Central Asia. I guess it's just not that important, right? Like it's just a vast. I mean, it's vast land, but it's just nothing. There's not a whole lot of population there, and the idea that connects Istanbul with India through a railway, going through Iraq and Persia, Iran, is a very lofty idea on paper, but in reality, to pull that off costs the kind of money that neither Russia nor Britain actually has. So they had a lot of fun time together in the region, but they never actually went to war. Actually, they would become allies in First World War, fighting together Prussia and Austria. In the game of Victoria 3, Great Game is an achievement for Russia to control the entire Central Asia region. So Russia started the game with three puppets, Kishijuju, Otajuju, and Yujuju, which I think corresponds to modern day Kazakhstan. And there's three more with similar culture, Kiva, Bukhara, and Kokand, that are independent countries, but falling to the influence of Russia, which I think corresponds to modern day Tajikistan, Cochrane, I think, and Uzbekistan is Bukhara, Kiva is Kyrgyzstan, or something like that. But you will also need to control part of Greater Chain, which is modern day China. I think these days, some of the land no longer belongs to China anymore. I think some part here, I'm not entirely sure. Uh, and the rest of this part is still part of China called Xinjiang. It was actually a long-term consistent geopolitical policy for Russia and the later Soviet Union to separate Xinjiang, the Central Asian part of China, of Qing, and later China, to separate it from China. During World War II, Soviet Union was fomenting, and all the way until the communism of China came into existence, Soviet Union had always been fomenting separation in Xinjiang. In World War II, there was this warlord Shen Shicai, who openly fought, resisted the authority of Kuomintang Party, backed up by Soviet Russia. So to get this achievement, we will need to annex these three countries, either annex or conquer these three countries and a good chunk of China. Um, we will also try to get the serfs up achievement, which is to start a country with serfdom as land ownership, and in labor rights start with serfdom, which is where Russia is, and unlock, interestingly, unlock uh, national rights and workers' protection, which says nothing about serfdom. So I don't know. I guess you can keep serfdom as long as you unlock like workers' protection. You will get this achievement. Anyway, we'll try to get this achievements like a secondary goal. Let's take a review of where we are, where Russia is. Russia, of course, is one of the most powerful countries in the beginning of 1836. It has a global ranking of second, although its prestige value is number 4 after Great Britain, China, and France. Has a world's third largest population after Great Chain and British East India. Same thing as GDP, third largest GDP. And massive army, the biggest country from Baltic Sea, from basically Atlantic to Bering Sea, over to North America. Alaska was Russia back then. But it is not without its shortcomings. So first off, the literacy ratio is very, very low, 14.9%. By comparison, I think the best educated nation in Europe back then, Prussia has a literacy ratio of 42%, Austria 30%, France 42%, Britain 55%. So Russia had a very meager 15%. Living standard is also very, very low, 8.6. And if you go to the population page, you can see that the middle and upper strata are living very well. Upper strata is prosperous with 29 living standard. Middle is also pretty high. But the lower strata, which accounts for 90% of the total population. Out of the 59 million people living in Russia, 55 of them are lower strata. They have a living standard of 7.8, which is struggling, which is atrocious. Can't afford anything. And their army is poorly equipped and poorly trained, although there's no serious national security threat at this point. But if we want to realize our goal, get this achievement, we will need to have a better army. Let's take a look at where we are politically. In the year of 1836, Russia was under the rule of Tsar Nikolai Romanov, who is a member of the Romanov dynasty. He didn't want to become a Tsar, but when his elder brother died, and him and there was another elder brother, both declined to be the Tsar, which led to a brief moment of confusion and coup d'etat. Eventually, Nikolai Romanov did become the Tsar. He was listed here as a traditionalist, which is a pretty accurate portrait. He was trained as a military engineer, very meticulous, very conservative, very serious, and kind of the Tsar you expected from 19th century Russia. Not particularly popular, but not hated either. His son, since he is here, the apparent heir, is worth some remarks. Alexander Romanov would go down history best known for the emancipation of serfs. So allegedly, he read a novel by Turgenev, in which the landlords, they call it pomshik, who is like the landlords, but because they have serfdom, a lot more powerful, they basically own not only the land, like the landlords did in Britain, let's say, and France, but they also own those peasants, and they're just very cruel to the peasants. And Alexander Romanov read the novel, and he was so shocked by this portrait, and decided to do what he can to liberate them. And it was in his reign that the millions of serfs got their freedom. Although in retrospect, that didn't really change the fate of Romanov's dynasty, because 60 years later there will still be a revolution that overthrew the government, and the serfs that the Romanovs liberated and digging the grave for them. But that's a separate story. That we'll get to that later. So anyway, Tsar is Nikolai Romanov. He is 39 years old. His son is 17 years old, who is market liberal because he would liberate, he would emancipate the serfs. Government, only gentry assembly, which is landowners, and they're more than landowners, and that's why I think they're called gentry assembly. They own not only the land but also all the peasants. We will make it a little bit more representative by introducing the church and the military to the government that bring down our legitimacy ratio by 10 points, but still makes us a righteous government. Everyone else is marginalized, and particularly intelligence is suppressed. We stop suppressing them. They're just too little, Collectively, they just would control 90% of the political clout. By introducing the military and the church, we have a few more legislative enactment options. We can go to professional army, or it's not a people popular idea. We can go to National Guard, which is the more popular idea. We can go to colonial resettlement or exploitation, which we will need to colonize Africa. But I think the best is we can go dedicated to this. We'll go dedicated to this, which seems to be an idea that everybody loves. Has 74% chance of being successful. So we'll do that first, legislatively speaking. No institution whatsoever. Russia is barely a country that we know in the modern sense. There's no national institution that sustain the country. Everything just kind of binged on the Tsar, maybe the aristocrats. No agitators we can invite due to our religious law. We are levying consumption tax on alcohol. Yeah, that makes sense. How much are we getting? 11K. They drink a lot. It's quite a deal. For 100 authority points, we'll get 11K. We're not going to change the tax brackets because all is good. We have enough money anyway. We will change the production method to the most advanced one we can afford. Okay. That's really it. Yeah, that's all it, I guess. We'll add some construction sectors just to speed up the building. Other well recording institute. Okay, liberate the slaves was successfully completed. I guess there was some slavery in Russia, but in the year of 1836, it's over. We have 3 technologies spread: lathe, pedal streamer, and the imperialism. We will take imperialism and then later upgrade all the military units. And diplomatically, we are cool. Let's see. We're on pretty good terms with Prussia and Austria. So after Europe defeated Napoleon, the 3 monarchies, Prussia, Austria, and Russia, they entered into what they call the Holy Alliance, and basically as a bulwark against potentially revolutionary forces. So they are very good terms together. We'll just continue improving. We'll also improve with France and Britain, and improve with Austria. The only nemesis Russia has is Ottoman Empire, which we have covered extensively in our Ottoman play. But Ottoman Empire is in no position to challenge Russia anytime soon. And then these three, Kazakhstan and Mongolian descendants, they're not very cool with Russia. China is on very good terms with Russia. Um, but we will need to take some promises from China, so I'm not too keen on building rapport with them anytime soon. Finland is a subject of Russia through a personal union. I think Sweden, after they lost the Great Northern War, ceded that to Russia. Eventually, Finland would become an independent country. I think in in the Bolshevik Revolution, and then in 1940s they will go to war. Well, Soviet Union invade Finland, which ended up being a white peace. And then Finland will team up with Nazi Germany to fight the Russians. The excuse was that the Gulf of Finland was too close to St. Petersburg, which is Russia's capital, and they used this as a pretext to invade Finland, asking them to cede this part to Russia. I think eventually they did, as a result of Second World War, and Finland became a neutral state. Two various reasons. That's really it. We need to declare interest with South China because Britain will invade, will have an opium war incident with China. We want to be part of that diplomacy. Same thing with North Africa because France will do something in Maghreb. We want to be part of that. Great Plains because the United States will run into problems with those Indian tribes. Mexico and Brazil because we want to subjugate them. These two countries, as I have mentioned in our Egyptian play, are those, in the beginning of the game, they have a very small army and a very big economy, and you can subjugate them with minimum infamy. And where else? We're not going to colonize anytime soon. Yeah, I think maybe this one and okay. Well, okay. That's really about it. With that all said, we're going to start. Oh, one more thing. We need to start promoting social mobility in this area. Moscow versus Kiev, Kazan, uh, Samara, Orsha. Yeah. So we will build this into our industrial center. So we want to promote social mobility, give it a literacy boost so that it will be easier for those factories we're going to build to hire people. Another thing is that we have a massive bureaucracy deficit. For example, in Kursk, we are only collecting 25%, 26% of the tax we should, and we're wasting 10K every week. So we need to build a lot more bureaucracy, government administration buildings in these, and these happen to be the most populous, most economically developed areas of Russia.